Hello dear students, welcome back to EduHunt video lecture series, and we have finished the cranial nerves in the main part of the nervous system. We know that there are different types of nervous systems. One is the central nervous system, peripheral and autonomous nervous system. Central nervous system consists of brain and the spinal cord. That we have finished. And the second type of nervous system, that is peripheral nervous system, it is formed by the nerves that arise from the brain called the cranial nerves and the nerves that from spinal cord called the spinal nerves. We have seen different types of cranial nerves. Let us see next type of nerves of the peripheral nervous system, that is cranial nerves. Cranial nerves. That we have finished. Cranial nerves. These are the nerves that arise from the brain. So we have finished different types of cranial nerves, and these nerves are of three types: sensory, I'm just reminding you, sensory, motor and mixed type of nerves we have seen. But the other type of nerves are the spinal nerves. Spinal nerves. They arise from the spinal cord. They arise from the spinal cord and they are only of one type. That is mixed type of nerves. Mixed nerves. Only one type, that is mixed type of nerves. Mixed type of nerves are spinal nerves, and they have two different roots. One root is efferent called the dorsal or the posterior root, and second is the efferent, that is ventral or the anterior root. And dorsal root called the sensory and ventral is the motor. Let us see the roots. Yes, the spinal nerves. All the nerves are of single type, that is only mixed type of nerves. Mixed. And each nerve is formed by the union of two roots. I mentioned two roots of the nerve. Those two roots are dorsal root and the ventral root. Dorsal root is called the posterior root and the ventral root is known as the anterior root. And the dorsal root, it is the sensory root. Sensory root, that is, and it consists of sensory fibers or the efferent fibers. Sensory fibers or the efferent fibers. I'll show you the picture. This is the picture where you can see both the anterior as well as the posterior roots. These are the cranial nerves. This is the spinal nerve and it has two roots. One is the dorsal root and second one is the ventral root. You can see the dorsal root as efferent neuron, that is sensory neuron, sensory root. And here downwardly you can see the ventral root or the motor root. Ventral root is also called as anterior root of the spinal nerve, and the sensory root or the dorsal root is also known as the posterior root. This is the posterior root and this is the anterior root of the spinal nerve. And this spinal nerve, the dorsal root, has a ganglion called the dorsal root ganglion, which is only seen here, that is in the dorsal region only. That type of ganglions are not seen in ventral root. Whereas this is the dorsal root or the dorsal part of the neuron is the efferent and sensory type. Efferent and sensory type, and the ventral root is efferent and the motor type. Dorsal root ganglion is, we have seen the dorsal root ganglion of the pseudo-unipolar neurons as seen in the picture. This is the pseudo-unipolar neurons forming the ganglion, that is the dorsal root ganglion in the dorsal root of the spinal neuron. And then ventral or the anterior root. This ventral root consists of motor or the efferent fibers. Motor or the efferent fibers. The smallest branch of the spinal nerve is ramus communicans. Smallest branch of the spinal nerve is the ramus communicans, and the preganglionic fibers of SNS, that is sympathetic nervous system, they pass through this branch, that is ramus communicans. Through this branch, the nerves or the preganglionic fibers of the sympathetic nervous system, they pass through the ramus communicans, the branch of the smallest branch of the spinal nerve. And this is a table showing various spinal nerves present in the human. These are the various spinal nerves present at different regions of the trunk part of the human being. Neck, the first region, neck region, the brain continues into the spinal cord, into the vertebral column as a spinal cord, that we all know. First part of the spinal cord is the neck part, that consists of cervical nerves. Cervical nerves, and we have 8 pairs of cervical nerves in the neck region. 8 pairs of cervical nerves are present in the neck region. And in the thoracic region, that is in the chest region, we have 12 pairs of nerves, spinal nerves. And in the abdomen, that is lumbar part of the spinal cord, that is lumbar region, have lumbar nerves, which are only 5 pairs. 5 pairs of lumbar nerves are seen in the abdomen region. That is, I am not showing my abdomen because they are present in the dorsal side. Then hip or the sacral nerves. The sacral nerves are present in the hip region, and these are also 5 pairs. And tail region, that is the terminal portion of the spinal cord, they have 1 pair of caudal nerves. One pair of caudal nerves are present at the end or the tail portion of the spinal cord. Altogether, how many pairs we have? And 31. This 20, 30, 31 pairs. That is 31 pair means 62 spinal nerves are present in the human being. What are they? Cervical nerves, 8 pairs, and then thoracic nerves, 12 pairs, lumbar nerves, 5 pairs, and sacral nerves, 5 pairs, and the last is caudal nerves, 1 pair. So these are the various spinal nerves present right from neck to the end portion of the spinal cord. Altogether 31 pairs of spinal nerves, and each spinal nerve, as I mentioned, each spinal nerve has 2 roots, dorsal or posterior root and the ventral or the anterior root. Dorsal root is the sensory root and the ventral root is the motor root. Dorsal root is the afferent root and the ventral is the efferent root. Dorsal root has the ganglion, but the ventral root has no ganglion. So this must be remembered, and in the next class we shall see the remaining details of the nervous system. Thank you.